Stylist. Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to be here with us. I have so many questions for you. I'm so intrigued about everything that you do, but should we just start with graduation, because that was in your bio about how you skipped your graduation to go to the eBay live auction or whatever it was, but what were you studying in college and why was this such a passion?
Well, actually, when I started out in college, my first 2 years I went to Kansas State. I'm from Kansas, very Midwest. I always loved fashion, but I didn't think I would go into fashion. I was the first girl to wear leopard pants in the 5th grade and get made fun of, and then, 6 months later, it'd be like a wild zoo in the school. I was always kind of that trendsetter and setting the way, but I wanted to go into crime scene investigation. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I set out doing. I started out at Kansas State. It was the furthest I could get away from home, being 2 hours, but I had to stay in state because they in-state tuition. So I started out there, and in my major, I had to take an outside concentration, and I picked fashion because I was like, this will be easy. I can just focus on my major. I'll take care of my outside concentration with fashion, and I learned it was completely opposite. It was anything but easy, but I had a really good talent for it. I started drafting and sewing and sketching, and I really kind of stepped into a skill set that I didn't even know that I had, and I fell in love with it. And so I had that conversation where you go to your parents and you're like, okay, I'm changing my major. I'm going from crime scene investigation, I'm going to be a fashion designer. My mom's like, you've got to be kidding me. And my mom's like, okay, my parents have always been really good about supporting. They're like, next year, you need to go to Kansas State for a full year. You need to stay in that major, and then we'll let you move to go to art school. You have to show us it's what you want to do. So Kansas State fashion design, I'm sure it's grown, but oh my. I remember graffitiing a piece of paper for my window display and like bedazzling my jeans, and I was like, it. And they let me make the move, and I moved to Chicago to pursue fashion design. I was going to go to FIT. 9/11 had happened right about before I moved, and I made the decision that New York was a little much for me, and Chicago was still Midwest, a smaller scale, and I could do what I wanted to do. So I moved to Chicago, and I will not name the school. You can search 100,000 interviews with me, and you will never see the name of the school where I graduated from. And I don't support them because they didn't support me upon graduation, which is what I will go into now. I went into fashion design, and my last year when I was getting ready to wrap up, I was up late one night sewing my final collection, and I saw a commercial for an eBay store. And I was like, dang, an eBay store. I could do that, and I'll sell luxury consignment. And that's what I decided I wanted to do. And I went to my program director and I said, hey, I want to build a business plan for graduation. Instead of doing this final collection, I'll still complete the collection because I have to complete my courses. I want to build a business plan. Can you help me with this? And she looked me in the eye across from the desk and said, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. Who do you think you are? And I said, I'm Corri McFadden. Who do you think you are? And she fueled me in a way. I almost thank her for it, Kathy. I won't say your last name, but she fueled me to where I was like, I'm doing it, and nothing is getting in my way. And so that's what I did. I built my business plan for e-drop-off. I skipped my college graduation. It was July 2004 to go to eBay Live New Orleans because I needed to find a software to run my eBay store. And that's what I did. Skipped my college graduation, went to New Orleans, gathered the information that I needed. I am not from money. I want to make that very clear. I graduated with $37 in my bank account, and I still have that checkbook to be a reminder of those $2.39 Panera purchases. I recorded every dime that I spent because I'm not from money, and I'm very money conscious because I had to survive. So I took out an SBA loan, and I took out a line of credit at Chase, and that's how I got the money to start e-drop-off. And October 1st, 2004, I opened the doors. So I graduated in July, opened in October, and I remember I did everything. I didn't have a lot of money to hire some agency to come in and market my business and brand me and create this. I had to work with what I had then, and it was very close to the 40-Year-Old Virgin for all of those that have seen that movie. So I was an eBay store. I took everything. I wanted to specialize in luxury and designer clothing, but I was from Kansas City, and how was I going to get my hands on Chanel? No one knew me. I didn't know anyone. I'd spent my time wrapped up in school. So I sold it all. I sold fly fishing equipment, electronics, coins, you name it. I was Pawn Stars of Lincoln Park. And I know about things that I should not even know about, but I had to take in whatever I could make a dime on. to pay the overhead, to run my business that was me, myself, and I for the first year before I could hire someone part-time. And I wanted to get my hands on that Chanel and the Gucci and the David Yurman and whatever. So every time I would get one piece that would come in the door, someone would come in and give me a chance. Those were the clients that I started focusing on. Those are the clients that I started bonding with, building relationships, figuring out what could I do for you so you will bring me more. And at that point, networking was it. I couldn't afford advertising. I couldn't take out ads. This is really before the internet was really popular. This is back in 2004. eBay was still new. I had to educate people on what eBay was. Social media didn't exist. MySpace was there, which we all remember MySpace. Amazing, but for different purposes. And I had to figure out this game of networking. And networking in school, I think of men in suits standing around after work, around highboy tables, and boring. And that's not what it was. It was figuring out, what luncheon do I need to go to? What do I need to do to take myself out of the box? And I tell everyone, the most important thing with networking is don't go with your best friend. Because when you do that, you defeat what your mission was of going there, and that was to meet people. Why? Because you stay in your comfort zone. You sit there and you talk with your girlfriend about the girl wearing the terrible shoes across the room. That girl wearing those terrible shoes could be your connection to something else. You need to go there with an open mind, put yourself out of the box, and start meeting people. And that's what I did. I went to, my first ever was a luncheon for a large charity here in Chicago. I saved all my money for the $250 ticket to go to that luncheon for the month, because this is where I was going to meet some new clients. And I remember sitting at the table of 12, and I'm like sitting there all alone, and the woman next to me is like, "How did you get here?" And I said, "In a cab. How did you come?" And I just learned to reverse anything that someone would try to cast upon me. And you know, when you're in your 20s and your early 30s, that's the peak period. What I learned in my 20s is that people want to help. You become someone's project. They're like, you know, they're 55, let's say 60, and they've got this cute little 20-year-old. I want to help her. I want her to meet my friends. And so I'm like, here, I'll be your project. And so I turned into kind of everyone's project, and everyone's best kept secret is what kind of happened. Because fast forward 3 years, the bottom fell out of the economy, and let's be real, things turned to shit. Things were bad, really, really bad. And so I needed to figure out, how can I clean these clients' closets? And they don't want people to think they're doing it for money, because it's not why people necessarily use e-drop-off. People use e-drop-off because they're being smart with their closet. They're getting rid of things that they no longer need. Clothing, shoes, handbags, jewelry, accessories. They once loved it, and they hang on to it because it's Tiffany. Well, let's be real. Are you wearing that Tiffany sterling bracelet you got for graduation? Probably not. But it's nice, and you know it, and that's why you've tucked it away. So it's educating people on that. And so what I learned, and I'm still on Clark Street in 600 square feet with bright green walls, mind you. And so people will be like, I have so much at home. And I'm like, well, what do you have? Let me see. Let me come over. And so I developed the Closet Clean. And I developed the Closet Clean to be a free service. So I would come to you, and I would clean your closet for free. I'd spend the afternoon with you. I'd help you be a voice of reason. And I wasn't in there to take everything out of your closet and strip you down so I'd make money. I was in there to help you, so you want to invite me back. So if I go in that Closet Clean and take 5 pieces, great. Or I take 150 pieces, awesome. But I wanted you to feel good about what you parted with, so you let me come back. Because it's about building longevity with your clients. It's not about the short-term satisfaction. And that's what builds a brand. So then I saved every dime I made. It's the most important thing you can do when you start to gain a little traction and success, is make sure you're burrowing that away, because if you want to continue to grow, it requires reinvestment. 2013, I am still 100% self-funded. I have 44 people that work for me. I built a new location in 2010 that took out all the misconceptions of the business. And it's a beautiful location. We're on Halstead, right between Webster and Armitage, so if you're over in the area. I had Simeone and Deary, who did the Elysian, which is now the Waldorf Astoria, design my space for me. and I made it a place that was beautiful. And everyone's like, why are you spending so much money? You don't sell anything out of here. You sell everything on eBay. Well, it was about the experience. It was about you coming in and feeling good about parting with your items. And instead of being shameful like you are in some consignment stores, like they're dark and you like drop your stuff off and run out, it was like you ran into your girlfriend and you're like, oh, are you going to the gala this weekend? How much is your check for? And it became a meeting place and something that people were proud of. And it's not easy. I have hustled so hard you can't even imagine, and no task is too big for me at any point. I mean, I empty trash, I'm on my knees, I do it all in the store. I mean, I'm like dirty every single day, and I'm doing things that people are like, really, you do that? Well, yeah, it's my brand, and I care about it, and I care about setting a tone for those that work for me that are just as invested. And I have the raddest staff ever. I love the people that work for me. I love being around them, and it makes me want to grow myself so I can grow them. And with that, I've become one of the largest consignment companies in the country. We sell over 2,500 unique pieces a week. I've had a lot of opportunities come my way. I had House of Consignment on VH1 that came through a cold call that someone saw an editorial piece written about me in CS. I have a weekly segment on WCIU. I've just, when you do what you love, it comes. And I remember standing in line for the Real World, like trying out, like hoping, and I thank goodness I didn't get on. But I think kind of I've always like cast it out there, like I love that opportunity, and it organically came, and it's because I'm passionate about what I do, and I love it, and I work very, very hard.
There are no shortcuts.
There are none, zero. And if there is, it's going to get you in a bad place. I try to take every situation to do what I believe is right. You're not always going to be right, and from those situations that you're not, it's important to learn from those so you can apply that. But I always try to do what feels good in my heart, and Jason said earlier, going with your gut. You know if something's too good to be true, or it's just off, or you might hurt someone. That's not good. That doesn't do what, you get a free necklace? Like, gifts? I mean, like, who cares? It's about doing what's good for the long term and investing in yourself, because you are your own brand. It doesn't matter what you do. If you work for someone else, you still are your own brand.
I would like to point out that you've made my job very easy. Go, girl! That's amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. I have a couple questions. Yeah. Number one, when you did skip graduation, what did your parents say?
My parents were all for it. My parents have always been very supportive. I think even when they don't understand, just making them understand. And I think the biggest thing is, when your parents or your support, whether it be your husband or boyfriend or friends, when they see you doing what you're passionate about, then they feel comfortable. It's when you're scattered all over, which is fine if you're trying to figure it out. But if, like 1 week, you're studying gems, and then the next week you're like selling shoes, and the next week you want to be a doctor, and figure out what is the common thing that you like in all of those, and try to cultivate that and apply it to do something. Because at the end of the day, no amount of money will make you happy, and that sounds so cliche. It's being happy with waking up, doing what you're doing, and excited to go back and do it the next day.
You obviously have a very ferocious, driven personality.
Oh, I sucked all the type A out of my family. Do you know my two brothers? They're like so quiet. They're like, where did you come from?
But that obviously propelled you to success. E-Drop Off is incredibly successful. It's been some 10 years now. You've done the side things, and capitalized on them, which is, of course, amazing. What's the fire about now? What's next for you? What's the new dream? Or does there have to be one?
No, it's continuing to grow the brand. When I started E-Drop Off, I knew it was about a 10-year foundation that I needed to build it into what it is going to be. It's having everything systematically in place and streamlined and efficient. And issues that I'm faced with now and things that I deal with, if those were to happen to me, year 1, 2, 3, they would have been detrimental to me. But really the biggest thing is no obstacle is too big to work through. They are difficult, and you will have days that just downright suck. But it's knowing that you'll come out of it and just keeping through, because a lot of people, you want to throw your hands up and you're like, I'm not dealing with that, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. when you come out on the other side, rather, even if it costs you a lot of money or whatever it might be, when you come out of it, you're like, damn, I am strong. Look what I just did. And that's what it's about. It's about working through those difficult situations because you learn things about yourself that you never knew that you were capable of doing. And the only way of doing those things is by growing as a person.
How do you get what you've got, in the sense that a lot of people aren't born like that? A lot of people don't, have the tenacity and the persistence within, and or were taught that, or whatever it is. And if they were sitting across from their superior at college and they said, sorry, you can't do that, honey, they might be like, okay, I follow the rules, I understand, and they'd go away. So how do you, I had a very similar situation in my early days in broadcasting when this news director was like, honey, you need to go to Market 200, but luckily, because of my mom and people that influenced me and people that were surrounding me were like, they tell you, no, who cares? You know what you're going to do? And at the moment, it crushed me. I was, okay, fine. San Francisco, because I didn't listen. I didn't give him the power. He wanted the power, but I didn't give it away. But if you don't have that, and maybe that's not your personality, how can you advise people that are here today to go beyond and still have the strength to go beyond that moment?
I think you just said it by, your mom being a support. It's important whoever's in your life is a support to you. A lot of people fill their lives with gloss and glam and people that really don't care about them. And, you want to, even if you only have one friend and that's all you have, that one friend can be that support to you. What happens is people surround themselves by people that maybe are socially prominent or have a name or something, but they're not really their friends. And those aren't the people that are investing in them and telling you, you know what, you did this so good, you can do this. Motivating them and pumping them up. So important. And if you're in a crappy relationship, exit right on out. That's all I can say. Is if you're contemplating it, go home, pack your bags, and go. And I mean that. Because your partner is the best support, and they're in charge of a lot of what you do, because the guidance that they give you and that support, it guides you unconsciously and you're not even aware of it. And I have an amazing fiance, and he is a lot of why I can do what I can do. And it's important because a lot of people, and I see it with a lot of times with girls, that they get in this relationship and you start putting your energy about bitching about him, complaining about him, when you could be out there building your blog, working on your career, working on you, and being the best you, and that you will bring you that partner. And congrats to Emma, who got engaged the other day.
Oh, congratulations.
But I think it's having good support and a good.
Feel like we're in church. I'm starting to feel like we're in church. I like this part of the show.